A few years ago, I stood in a hardware store, looking at a shopping basket that did not make sense. One product for ants, one for slugs, one for mildew, one for weeds, one for wood rot. By the time I was done, I had spent close to $50 solving 5 different problems.
Or at least I thought I was. Because the strange thing was this. Back when I was growing up, we did not have 5 different products for those jobs. We had one box, one cheap box that sat in the same spot on the kitchen shelf year after year. And it handled most of them. That did not make sense to me. How could a $2 box compete with an entire shelf of specialty products? For a long time I ignored that question. I bought the labels, I bought the promises, I bought the newer formula that was supposed to work better, and somehow I always ended up back at the store. Then one day I stopped ignoring it. I remembered standing on a milk crate at the kitchen sink as a boy, watching my mother stir a little white powder into warm sugar water and set it near an ant trail. She never explained it, she did not need to. The trail was gone by morning. The older I got, the more I noticed that the simplest things around the farm tended to outlast the expensive ones. The solutions that had been there for decades, the ones nobody was advertising anymore, that kept pulling at me until I finally paid attention to it properly. One more thing before we get into the list.
The most unexpected thing I found does not even use the box. I would have guessed wrong on it myself. I am Eli Yoder. I farm here at Maple Creek Farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Let me show you what that little box actually does, what it does not do, and why I spent years buying products I never really needed.
I sprayed the same ant trail on this counter for 2 summers before my mother told me why it kept coming back. The spray kills the ants you can see, every one of them. The trail disappears. For a day, maybe 2. Then it is back, same spot, same line, same direction. Most people assume the spray was not strong enough. I assumed the spray was not strong enough, so I bought a stronger one. Another bottle, another $8 or $10, and the trail came back anyway. That is the part that should have told me something sooner. The spray was never the problem. The ants on the counter are workers. They are not the colony, they are not the queen, they are not the brood. The entire reproductive system that produces every ant you have ever seen on your counter is somewhere deep inside a wall, under a foundation, or in the soil outside, and no spray you put on a counter will ever reach it. What my mother was doing at that sink was the opposite of what the spray does. She was not trying to kill the ants on the trail, she was trying to let them walk home. 1 teaspoon of borax, 1 cup of warm water, half a cup of sugar, stir until dissolved, soak a cotton ball in the mixture, set it near the trail, not on top of it. The sugar draws the workers. The borax concentration is low enough that it does not kill them on contact. They feed. They carry the solution back to the colony. They feed it to the queen. They feed it to the brood. The colony does not survive. The dose is the mechanism. Too much borax and the ant dies at the counter, which is exactly what the spray does, and exactly why the spray fails. Too little and nothing reaches the colony. 1 teaspoon per cup of water, that is the line. You were not supposed to kill the ant, you were supposed to let it walk home. 2 weeks later you walk, past the spot on the counter where the trail used to be. You have not thought about it in 2 weeks, not because you treated it again. Because there is nothing left to treat. The colony is not one ant problem repeated, it is one system you never reached, until now.
Nobody likes to talk about this one. But if you have ever lived in a old farmhouse or worked it in an old barn, you know.
The first roach I ever saw in the feed room did not bother me much. 1 roach, 1 corner, easy enough to ignore. The 10th one did. That is when you stop telling yourself it is nothing and start doing something about it. Same principle as the ants, different pest. The cockroach grooms itself constantly. It runs its legs across its body the way a cat cleans its face. A thin line of borax dusted behind the refrigerator, along the back of the cupboards, under the stove, anywhere they travel that you do not normally see, gets onto their legs and body. When they groom, they ingest it. The commercial roach bait stations at the hardware store contain boric acid, the same chemical family. The difference is the packaging and the price, another $8 a box every few months, for the same active ingredient sitting in a box under your sink already. Dust a thin, barely visible line, not a pile. A pile they walk around, a line they walk through, behind appliances, along baseboards, under sinks. Repeat after deep cleaning or if you see activity return. Same delivery system as the ants, the roach finishes the job itself. A few years ago I was checking fence posts along the south pasture. Most of the untreated ones had gone soft in the lower section. You could push a screwdriver into them without much effort. But there was one post, set decades before I took over, that was still hard all the way through. Solid. No rot, no bore holes, nothing had touched it. I asked about it. The post had been soaked in a borax solution before it went into the ground. One treatment, decades ago. What borax does to wood is different from what it does to insects directly. It does not poison the wood. It makes the wood indigestible. Carpenter ants, termites, wood-boring beetles, they eat cellulose, the structural fiber in wood. When borax saturates the wood, the cellulose is still there, but the organisms that feed on it cannot process it. It is like feeding something a meal with nothing left to absorb. They move on. There is a commercial product at the hardware store that does this exact job. It comes in a gallon jug. It costs about $60. I bought the $60 one first because it had a better label. Then I looked at the ingredient list. Same active compound. Different bottle, different price. 1 part borax to 8 parts warm water. Brush it onto bare untreated wood, fence posts, barn beams, shed framing, raised bed timbers. The wood must be bare. Paint or stain blocks absorption. Apply in dry weather so it soaks in before rain. One treatment lasts years. 20 years from now, that treated post will still be standing in the same spot, hard all the way through, while the untreated posts around it have long since been pulled out and replaced 2 or 3 times over. One afternoon with a brush bought that post 2 decades. That is the kind of math that does not show up on a hardware store receipt. And later in this video I'm going to show you a use that does not involve borax at all. Something I found waiting inside a strip of cardboard wrapped around an apple tree trunk that genuinely surprised me. Stay with me for that one. If this is the kind of practical, no-nonsense knowledge you are after, the kind that actually changes what is in your cupboard instead of your shopping cart, subscribe to Amish Roots and Garden. Free every week. I will tell you honestly, I got this one wrong the first time. A few years back I was reading about boron deficiency in brassicas, hollow stems in broccoli, brown, corky centers in cauliflower, poor fruit set on apple trees that bloom heavy but hold almost nothing. The symptoms matched exactly what I had been seeing, and boron, the element, is what borax is built from. So I mixed a spray, and I mixed it too strong. That row of beets struggled for the rest of that season, not dead, just stunted and wrong looking, the way a plant looks when it has been quietly poisoned by something it cannot escape because it is in the soil. That was my lesson. I earned it the hard way. The line between feeding a plant and poisoning it is written in teaspoons, not cups. Boron has the narrowest safe range of any soil micronutrient. The difference between enough and too much is smaller than you think. 1 level tablespoon of borax dissolved in 1 gallon of water, applied once per growing season across the whole bed, not per plant. Level, not heaping. Once, not twice. And honestly, a soil test is the more reliable way to know whether you actually have a deficiency before you treat for one. When you get it right, the difference shows. Cauliflower heads come out solid white all the way through. Beet roots are smooth instead of corky. Fruit trees hold more of what they bloom. The plant had plenty to eat. It was just missing one small ingredient. The same way bread does not rise without yeast, even with everything else right. I will tell you honestly, ever added a little extra of something in the garden just to be sure and regretted it? Tell me what it was. Drop it in the comments. I bought a $40 jug of weed killer for a driveway crack one June. The next June, I bought another one. The crack never asked what was in the bottle. It just kept growing back the same as always. $80 over 2 seasons for a crack the size of your hand, and the weed never once cared what brand it was. This is not the gentle use on this list. It is the strongest one, which is exactly why it only belongs where nothing should ever grow again. Borax at a higher concentration sterilizes soil. It prevents germination and kills existing root systems in confined areas. In a driveway crack, a patio joint, or a gravel path where you never want anything to grow, that is exactly what you need. In a garden bed, or anywhere near one, it is exactly what you do not want. Roughly 1 1/4 cups of borax dissolved in 1 gallon of warm water. Pour directly into the crack on a dry, sunny day. Do not spray. Do not let it run off onto the lawn or garden. This is a targeted application for surfaces where permanent bare ground is the goal. Walk that same stretch of driveway in August. For the first time in years, nothing came up at all. Keep this away from garden beds. Keep it away from trees. Keep it away from anything you want to keep alive. This is the one use on the list where the power of the product is also the risk.
Now, here is the part I promised you earlier, and it surprised me more than anything else on this list.
It does not use the box under the sink at all. Every fall, anyone who grows apples knows the disappointment. You cut into what looks like a perfect fruit, and there it is, the brown tunnel running from the surface to the core. The codling moth larva was inside feeding weeks before you ever noticed. By the time you found the damage, the larva had already finished, dropped to the ground, or crawled down the trunk and tucked itself into a crevice somewhere to spend the winter. Most people assume the answer is a better spray, applied at the right time, to keep the moth away from the fruit. I assumed the same thing, but the biology does not work that way. The larva is already inside the apple before any external spray can reach it. The damage happens internally. By the time you see it, it is done. But here is what the larva does next, and this is where the whole approach inverts. When the larva finishes feeding inside the fruit, it exits. It crawls down the trunk looking for one specific thing, a sheltered crevice, where it can spin a cocoon and spend the winter. Loose bark, a crack in the wood, any tight, dark, protected space close to the ground. It is not avoiding you, it is searching for exactly the kind of hiding spot you can provide on purpose. Take a strip of corrugated cardboard, 4 to 6 inches wide. Wrap it around the trunk from the base up to about 3 feet, corrugated side against the bark. Tie it in place. Do this in early to midsummer, before the first generation of larvae begins looking for overwintering sites. The cardboard is the hiding spot. The larvae crawl down the trunk, find the corrugation, and move in. They are doing exactly what their biology tells them to do. You are not fighting the instinct, you are using it. In early to mid-fall, before winter sets in, remove the band, unwrap it carefully. The first time I pulled one of these off a trunk, I was not expecting much. It was a strip of cardboard, it cost nothing. It seemed too simple to matter, but when I unrolled it and saw what was actually in there, larvae, cocoons, settled in exactly the way the book said they would, I understood something I had not understood before. The trick is not to keep the pest away from the tree. It is to give it exactly what it is looking for, and take it away before it gets to use it. Destroy the band, burn it or bag it. Do not compost it. Replace the band in early summer the following year. Repeat annually. No spray, no chemical, no specialty product. A strip of cardboard and the patience to let the pest do half the work for you. Sarah scrubs the cellar steps every spring. It is one of those quiet household chores that happens so regularly nobody thinks to ask why it works. The stone stays clean. The mildew does not come back for months. The cellar smells like clean stone instead of damp. What she uses is borax paste. 1 cup of borax dissolved in 1 quart of hot water. Scrub it into the surface with a stiff brush. And, this is the part most people get wrong, do not rinse it off. The borax residue that stays on the surface is what prevents regrowth. Most people assume they need to rinse a cleaning product off when they are done. This one keeps working precisely because you do not. I left it on a cellar wall once and walked past it for 2 days before I believed it had actually done anything, since nothing visibly changed at first. By day 3, the dark staining had lightened. By the following week, the wall looked different than it had in years. Any north-facing or damp surface, cellar walls, exterior siding, bathroom grout, basement steps, scrub, leave, walk away. The residue does the rest. Here's what I want you to try this week. Mix the ant bait exactly as I gave it to you. 1 teaspoon, not a heaping one. Set it where you have seen the trail, not on top of it. Give it 2 weeks. If you have got an old shed or fence post you are worried about, brush the solution on while the weather is dry. And if you have a fruit tree, wrap a band around the trunk this summer and see what is waiting in it come fall. I have done all 3. I am telling you because they worked. The box under the sink was never the trick by itself. Knowing the right job for it, the right dose, the right surface, the right pest, and when to put the box away and reach for a strip of cardboard instead, that was always the trick. And that is not something a catalog can sell you. Subscribe to Amish Roots and Garden before the next one. Next time, since we have been talking about what is already sitting in the cupboard, there is a single cup of plain wood ash that does something to one particular lawn problem worth seeing for yourself. And tell me below which use on this list was new to you, or if your mother or grandmother had her own version of one of these, write it down here. That kind of knowledge does not last unless somebody puts it somewhere. I rate every single one.